You must also keep your checkbook balanced, your checking account balanced. And I'm amazed at people that don't know how to do this. And I guess I don't want to shame you, and I don't want you to feel guilty for not knowing how to do it, but I want to push you hard enough. If you're not keeping your checkbook reconciled, your checking account reconciled with what's actually happening at the bank, within 72 hours of you receiving the statement, you've got a system broken in your money. People just pile these things up. They go, well, I do it about once a year. And they can't figure out why they have no clue about their money.
I recommend that you open your first checking account somewhere between 13 and 15 years old, depending on how you're wired and how good you're doing with handling money. If you're doing a really good job and you're kind of a math person, then you can do it as young as 13. If you're a little bit sloppy, everyone needs to start learning to run a checking account by at least age 15.
If you really want to win with money, you've got to know where your money is and what it's doing all the time. Taking a hands-off, no worries, I've got this under control kind of attitude may seem fun or mature, but it's not. That's just a one-way trip to overdrafting your account. And trust me, that's not fun or mature at all. An overdraft is when you spend more money than you actually have in your account. And that's pretty common for people who have sloppy, lazy money habits. Say you've got $50 in your bank account. You'd planned on buying a $30 shirt this week, so you should be good, right? But while you're at the mall, you end up using your debit card to buy 2 shirts at 2 different stores, and then grabbing a smoothie as you walk out through the food court. Now, instead of spending $30, you've really spent $75. Problem is, you only had $50 in the account. That means you've spent $25 more than you had, and that starts a chain reaction that's going to cost you big time. It's easy to think, well, I get paid on Friday, so I can just replace that $25 then. No big deal. Wrong. This screw-up is going to cost you a lot more than $25 to fix. Or you might think, this really is the bank's fault. They shouldn't let my debit card overdraft my account. It's their problem. Wrong again. Seriously, seriously wrong. Here's a dirty little secret about banks. They love it when we overdraft our accounts. You know why? Because that means they get to charge us a ton of money in the form of fees. A typical overdraft fee is $35. Now you might think, man, that stinks. Now it's going to take $25 plus a $35 fee to get me back to zero. That $25 mistake is now up to $60. Well, it's actually worse than that. The bank charges a $35 fee for every transaction you make that you can't cover. You shopped at 3 different stores that day, remember? 2 shirt stores plus the smoothie stand. That means you actually had 2 overdrafts. One at the second shirt store and another for the smoothie. So you get hit with 2 separate $35 fees. Now it's not a $25 mistake, it's a $95 mistake. It also means you probably spent about $40 total just for the smoothie. Hope it was tasty. And this doesn't just happen occasionally. In fact, about 1/3 of the bank's total revenue comes from fees alone. They're banking on you messing up your account. They're just going to assume that you're clueless because it makes them more money. And just checking your balance at the ATM or online isn't good enough. That just shows you how much is sitting in your account right now. The bank doesn't care or know if you've already spent money that just hasn't hit their system yet. So to avoid overdraft fees and manage your account well, you've got to stay on top of your spending. Keep a record of every check you write and hang on to the receipts when you use your debit card. Use budget software or even an old-fashioned checkbook register, but write it down. You're responsible for knowing how much you have and for tracking every single transaction. That's the only way to stay out of the land of overdrafts, and it's one of the simplest but most important ways to win with money.
Okay guys, confession time. When I was in high school, I overdrafted my checking account. Yes, me, Dave Ramsey's daughter, not knowing how to manage money. Awesome. To make matters worse, Dad made me go down to the bank and apologize to the bank manager for lying. Because I told him I had money in his bank to spend, and I didn't. And that was a lie. You better believe I haven't overdrafted my account since. I learned from my mistake. The thing is, overdrafting can happen pretty easily if we don't stay on top of our spending. Did you know that on average, banks charge $35 every time you swipe your card or write a check and there's not enough money in your account? Those fees for non-sufficient funds can add up pretty fast. That's why I encourage you to live on a zero-based budget. Give every single dollar you make a name. That way, you'll know where your money is at all times. By spending less than you make and balancing your checking account, you will stay on top of things.
Overdrafts are a sign of crisis living, aren't they? And sloppy, lazy money habits. Because this is 6th grade math, keeping a checkbook. It's just a matter of doing the stuff. I mean, the average millionaire can't tell you what's happening on the average TV show, but their checking account's balanced. But don't tell me you know everything about the latest television craze and you don't have a clue about your own life. Throw a brick through your television, all right? And go get you a clue. Spend a few hours a month actually working on your life so you get to win. That's an idea. And automatic overdraft loans now, here's the deal. This year, according to the Center for Responsibility Lending, $10.3 billion in fees charged to Americans this year on overdraft situations. Absolutely out of control stuff. It's a huge profit center for the banking industry. They are feeding off of the American public's incompetence. It's absolutely crazy. And you can use the duplicating or duplicate type checks if necessary. If you're writing checks and you forget to write them down, at least you get home and you got that little, NCR copy back there that you can look at and you can keep up with them that way. A lot of people aren't using checks nearly as much as they used to. But if that's a problem for you, use the duplicate situation. If not managed and made to behave, the ATM card and the debit card are also certain to become budget busters. I've met many people who didn't have a big credit card problem, but they were $20 themselves to death with the ATM, and there was no management of it. It was completely out of control. Now, I don't make you cut up your ATM card, and I'm certainly not against the debit card. I have 2 of those in my wallet right now, one for my business and one for my personal account. And we'll talk about that in the debt lesson quite a bit. But the deal is simply this: you have to make your money behave. Whether it's checks, whether it's debit cards, whether it's ATM, whatever's going on, you have to be proactive in these situations.
Phone bill,
Clothes?
I don't know. Computers and just stuff like that.
I don't know.
Clothes.
If I had money, I'd be spending on tanning.
Food and clothes.
Probably food. I spend a lot of excess money on food that I don't need to.